Hey everybody, Aaron Blaise here, and we're back for another live stream. I hope everything goes right this time because we're always running into technical problems. But anyway, we are back, and let's see. I talked to the Facebook folks the other day, and we might have some overlap here today, but we had a great week, last couple of weeks. I'm sorry we've been off. We were in Portland with Wacom over there and at their experience center, giving some lectures and demos and things like that, and that was really great. And saw some new Wacom products that are going to be coming out down the road that are really cool. And we also, I went up to Pennsylvania and gave the commencement speech at the Pennsylvania College of Art and Design, which is an honor and really wonderful. And so it's just nice to be back in my studio now and actually working and doing some drawing and stuff. And it was fun. When I got back from when we were flying back in from Portland, I was taking a lot of photographs of the clouds as we were coming in over Florida. And some of you know that I love to create these cloud creatures. It's the little kid in me. I love, we all like to look up at the clouds and see little things in the clouds. And now that I'm an adult and I have the digital medium, I have Photoshop and a Cintiq. It's kind of fun to sit down and actually create the creatures right over what I see in the clouds. And so I took a whole bunch of photos coming in, and I thought today might be kind of fun to create one, with you guys and show you how I do it. So that's what we're going to do today. So here's a cloud that I created right here, and we'll sit down and we'll have fun with that. Before we do, I just want to introduce, I've got Dustin Blaise, my son. He's going to be sitting here. He's in the studio. Say hi, Dustin.
Hey, guys.
And like usual, he'll be answering questions or rattling off questions to me while I draw. And we've got my business partner, Nick Birch, who's in Sarasota, and he'll be writing off answers to questions as well, and sending links to anything that we might have. And there we go. So this one in particular, I actually already know what I'm going to do with this one, because I remember taking the picture and I could see it. Excuse me, I just had lunch. But this one, we got to turn it 90 degrees, because let me show you. Let's rotate it clockwise. And here we go. And you can probably see it right away, but I see a rabbit. Right here, there's the bunny's head, his eye, and we'll figure something out with the ears, and down into his body I see his arm coming up in here, and maybe a bow tie right here. I mean, it just instantly, that's what I saw all right away. So I thought, why don't we just go ahead and dive in. And when I see it like this, when I see it that clearly, it's actually kind of fun. It's kind of easy, and I can just get in and start drawing. The other thing I'll do is I'll show you how I do my little cross dissolve, bring it into Premiere, if we can get it done in time, and show you how we do the cross dissolve between the drawing and the cloud. But I'm just going to go ahead and dive in, and if you guys have any questions, then just fire them off to Dustin. Oh, actually, the first thing I do here is I create a layer over that, just so I can see the drawing. It's a little hard. Oops, that's not what I want. It's a little hard. There we go. When you don't have that layer to kind of lighten it up a little bit to see the drawing. So I like to put a little layer on top and then create another layer for my drawing. So here, all I can see is this little bunny rabbit. And so I'm going to draw him in here. There we go. There's his nose. Right down through here. I can see the muzzle coming down. I see all of this. Actually, I'm going to bring this down. Oh, that's a big eraser. There we go. You got something, Dustin?
Yeah, where do you get these pictures, or do you take them yourself?
This one, that's what I was saying earlier. I take them all myself. We were flying in from Portland, or maybe I didn't, but we were flying in from Portland, and I was taking pictures of the clouds below us as we were flying in over Florida, and I just was clicking away with my phone. These are just phone pictures, and man, that's an eye. If that's not an eye, I don't know what is. And then I take them and I just look at all of them, And I don't even wait to see something. I'm just taking pictures of clouds, and then when I get home, I look to see what I might have. So this is how I start them. I just draw right over what I see, and I'll click on and off. And you can see the shapes in there, and I use those shapes as inspiration. And this is kind of fun for character design too. If you're kind of stuck on a character design. Did you have another one, Dustin?
When it comes to getting into the animation business, is it more about who you know rather than what you do, or the person's asking like, is it easier to get in if you know somebody inside, or
Well,
is it easier to get
yeah,
in?
I understand. So, well, the first answer, the answer, the overall answer is if you want to get in the animation industry, you got to be good at what you do. It's just like anything else, and no amount of knowing anybody is going to help you there, because when it comes down to it with animation, you got to animate at some point, or you got to draw, you got to design, or you got to create. And if you're not creating, then you're not gonna make it. So, but it does help to know somebody in the industry that might be able to give you a hand here and there. But that to me that's really minor. If you've got a great portfolio, then that's going to be the biggest thing. Great portfolio is number one. Yeah, Dustin.
What are your plans for future tutorials after doing how to draw bears? Do you have anything in mind?
Yes, actually, I'm going to try to get it done before July. I'm doing an entire course on digital painting. So right now we're still in the planning stage, but it's going to cover all kinds of stuff: brush making, my approach to digital painting. I might separate out Photoshop and Painter. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do that yet. Like I said, we're still planning it, but it's yeah, my approach to digital painting and different techniques and photo bashing and all kinds of fun stuff that I do. And so that's going to be the next one. Then I'm also going to do my next animal how to draw animals course is going to be on wolves, coyotes, and foxes. So that's going to be cool. Then I also want to I'm going to get some African stuff in there. I want to get an elephant one done. I know I've already got the elephant PDF, but I want to do the actual video course. I think that would be nice, big, full video course on how to draw elephants would be fun. So right in here, I gotta find where I'm gonna put his ears. I'm gonna let's this up here. I'm gonna put some hair up here. Maybe this can be an ear. You don't have to raise your hand, Dustin. You can just tell me. We don't have Travis here. I had my brother here on Tuesday on the Facebook Live, and it was pretty fun. My brother Travis is an animator also, so we're gonna try to do that more often in the future too. Bring more people on.
Do you still think of anatomy even though you're tracing a cloud?
Yes, I still think about the anatomy. I still think, okay, how am I gonna I know that the cartilage is this kind of shape here, and this is stiffer cartilage on this ear than on this floppy part of the ear. I'm still thinking about, the nose under here. Now I let the cloud be the dominant force, but then I'm trying to think, okay, how is that form underneath being shaped by whatever forces that cloud is creating? And this big shape right here, maybe this, let's do this. Let's just turn this into, I don't know, we'll just turn, it's a lovely little bunny. And we'll turn it into a flower. There's a petal right there. And he's wearing flowers. He's wearing a flower in his ear.
How many hours a day do you spend drawing? Is it every day?
I draw every day. Now there are days that go by where I might be in traveling or something like that, but I draw every day, and I love it. So and the more you draw, it's just like that. People talk about being talented and this and that, and there is talent will only go as far as you work, and so to me, working hard is stronger than having any kind of talent. And uh, I think I'm looking at this shape right here, this dark shape, Maybe we can turn that into part of a bow, like he's wearing a bow tie. Um, and so the more you do it, the better you get. It's like anything else. If if someone wants to be a great baseball player, then they play a lot of baseball. Well, art is the same way. Maybe he's got here, right here. Maybe that's the bow coming up.
Did you ever do any animation with Hayao Miyazaki or met him?
I have met him. I've never done any animation with him, but I have met him. I went to Studio Ghibli in Tokyo.
Lucky.
I know. Um, Years and years ago, back in 2004, and it was wonderful. And he was very gracious, and we had a great time. There, I
What
think
movie was he working on at that time? Do you remember?
I think it was the Walking House, or
Oh,
what was it called? Or Moving
I,
House?
no, it was
I can't remember what it's called. Someone help us out. Someone
Howl's
type.
Moving Castle.
Yes, that's the
That's it.
one.
Howl's Moving Castle.
Moving Castle.
Took me a minute there, but I watched recently watched the other one he made more recently, For Wind, I think it's called.
Uh huh. Well, the other one was
Was
the red
designing
turtle.
the airplane designer.
Ah, yeah. And then
It's
here's,
a really great story.
I'm going to use this shape here and come up with the other ear. The other thing too, when you're creating these, is look for places that you can just simplify shapes. And sure, there's going to be a lot of places that it gets broken up, but or that you're simplifying. But once you get it down, when I draw this in and it disappears, you can't help but see what it is that we just created. And maybe there's something else over here. I'm not sure.
Do you prefer digital or traditional? What is more fun for you?
I love them both. For me, it's not the medium. It's just being able to create. So I feel just as comfortable with a pencil and drawing on paper as I am, you know, working with a stylus. So it doesn't matter to me as long as I get to create. And I love to paint traditionally. I love to paint digitally. So it really doesn't matter as long as I'm out there creating. So I see an arm coming down. If I squint my eye at it, it's like his arm is coming down. And I know this is a stretch, but I think it's gonna work. And then his arm is coming down here. And there's an elbow, and this is kind of a stretch right here. Like that.
How do you find your own drawing style? Are you spend a long time to looking for your own style?
No, and that's a question I get a lot. Style is not, I think 99% of the time with people, style is not something that they went after. Style is something that evolves. And so I get that question a lot from people that are asking me about how they should find their style. And the best answer I can give you is you don't find it, it finds you. And you just keep working. You keep drawing, and the more you draw, the more you get relaxed, and your own style will evolve. We're all influenced by other artists and other people and friends and whatever. Whatever might influence you, inspire you, whatever, and that all becomes part of your style over time.
Will I answer the next question?
So the more you work, the more your style will evolve. And it's funny because people, they tell me they know my style, but to me I don't feel like I have a style. And I think a lot of people are like that. I just draw the way that I draw, or I paint the way that I paint. Here
How's
we
the
go.
work on Snow Bear going? Will we see something about it soon?
I'll be definitely sharing with. The question was, how's the work going on Snow Bear? And the answer is slow because I've been creating courses. So to be honest with you, I haven't touched it in a couple of months. So I got to get back to it. That's one of our goals this summer. And yes, you will be seeing more of it because as we work on it, we're going to share. I'll be doing live streams when I'm storyboarding or animating and things like that. So that's one of the reasons we started it. Whoa, hey, I just knocked that way over there. That's one of the reasons we started doing live streams, is that we wanted to be able to share um, the process with everybody. All right, so looking at this, I want to see. Okay, there's his butt coming down like so, and I see. To me, that feels like I see a leg over here. Like there's maybe a knee right here, and his belly coming down.
Have you ever tried a stop motion?
You know what? I've never tried stop motion. I've always wanted to give it a shot, but I've never done it. I've been so there's so much art to be done in different mediums. I haven't. I love to sculpt as well, and I haven't sculpted since I was in college. So I would love to do stop motion. I just really haven't. I haven't had the opportunity because I'm constantly working in other mediums. All right, so there's something of a drawing. If I turn that on and off, you can kind of see. You can kind of see, like here, right here. I look at everything, not just the shape, but also where dark lines and light lines meet. Your eye will kind of make a shape there. So if you look at that lower left knee, you can see there's a border between the dark and the light, and I just use that as the line of his light leg. And there's that arm. You can kind of see those ears coming up. So I just kind of use that. And then once I get that in, then I just go ahead and start drawing. It's a weird pose, I know, but that's the pose that I could see. Maybe we'll give him a little thing here. There we go.
Have you tried a 3D, like CG animation?
No, well, I have not done any CG animation. I was learning Maya a few years ago, and but I was directing a movie at the time, and I just didn't have the time to focus on Maya as much as I needed to in order to be good at it, and so I let it go, and I've never gone back. So no, I haven't done any uh, animation in 3D, although I'd like to. But I'll tell you, I really love my 2D, so it's hard for me to take any time to go back. Now that I have TV Paint, which I use all the time, the software, TV Paint is the software that I use for 2D animation, hand-drawn animation. I'm so enamored with it. I have a hard time going off and spending any time doing anything else. And that's the other thing too. Just real quick, the equipment that I'm using today is I'm working on a Cintiq 27 QHD, and made by Wacom, and it's wacom.com if you're interested in any of their products. I think they're fantastic. And uh, and I'm working in Photoshop CC, the latest Photoshop. I have a subscription to the cloud. So that's what I'm working in today. And also, if you want to see more of my stuff, if you're not familiar with my work, check out my stuff at Creature. I have a website, creatureartteacher.com, spelled just like it sounds, creatureartteacher.com. And I've got tons of art lessons and Photoshop brushes and animal drawing courses and all kinds of fun stuff there. So check it out. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and color this guy in. I don't know if I like this bow right here. I'm going to get rid of that for a second. And maybe, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to let this come down and be the bow.
How can I successfully transition from drawing animals purely from reference to drawing from imagination?
The question is, how do you transition from drawing animals from reference to drawing from imagination? And if you're not drawing animals from life, add that in there, because that will help you. Make this his cheek. A lot of people don't want to do what's hard. And drawing animals from life is hard. Drawing animals from reference is easy. You've got a nice still image and you can just sit there and you can take as long as you want. And that's great for understanding anatomy if you want to sit down. But photographs, remember, photographs always lie. And they'll tell you one thing and the reality is something else a lot of times. And so there's a good intermediate step that you can do in drawing animals from reference, and that is using video rather than photographs. And I'm not always able to get out into the woods or the wilds of Alaska or Wyoming, and so I videotape a lot of um, uh, nature programs, and I use those as reference, and I'll sit down and sketch. So that's a great option. So that's one thing you can do. And then, but then the more you do it, the more adept you'll get, and you'll just find that it's really just remembering. You got to remember where everything goes, and once you do, then you'll be kind of set, and you'll just start doing it more and more out of your head, just like anything else. And it just takes time. Let's see here.
When did you start doing your cloud drawings? I did when I was in high school, and everybody thought I was nuts for taking pictures of clouds.
I just started doing them a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And no, you're not nuts. You're an artist. You see what's not there. So don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It's your job to do that. And yeah, I'm making him a little pink bunny. He's a little pinkish. It's your job to see what's not there. And oops, that's the wrong one. And I just think, to me, and it's not just clouds. It's anything where you look at a tile or a rock or something that's a funky shape, and you can see. I mean, we see it in the news all the time where someone sees the Virgin Mary on a piece of toast or something like that. We're just wired as humans to see things like that and make order out of chaos. And a cloud is nothing but chaos, but our brain kind of organizes some of that chaos in ways, and sometimes you see stuff in it. And that's what makes it fun. And so today I see a bunny in this cloud. And, I'm a 49-year-old man, and I'm drawing little bunnies in the clouds, but it's fun. So what the heck? I don't care. I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care.
I'm doing a wolf on Photoshop, but doing the fur on its head, legs, and tail is so hard. How do you do it?
Well, it depends. The question is, how do you do the fur of a wolf in Photoshop? And it's a broad question because it depends stylistically. Are you doing every hair? Are you doing the clumps? I'm a big believer in not doing all of the hair. I just every single strand of hair. You don't need to do that to get the detail down. And so, but doing hair that's a whole other. I can't answer it in a 2-minute question, or a 2-minute answer. Although, I did a live stream a few weeks ago on how to paint grass, and it's very, very similar. Painting grass and painting fur are very, very similar in their approach, and depending on the type of fur that you're trying to paint. So I'm looking at this guy. That's kind of funky. Let's give him a little darker. Let's go with a green tie. But so start the biggest answer I can give you. I'm just going random colors here. The biggest answer I can give you is start broad. Don't start with the big. Don't start with the tiny details. Start broad and then work towards your details, and that will help.
When you go through art block, do you find that forcing yourself to work helps, or do you have other methods of getting back into the art?
I get this question a lot. I don't get art block anymore because I've been doing this long enough and I draw every day that I just don't get art block. But the way to get through art block is, yes, you just sit down and you just push yourself. You just work and work through it. and eventually something. A lot of times what I used to do is just start drawing, and eventually, something happens, and you everybody has something that they like to create, and so then I would just sit down and just start doodling. A lot of times when I'm talking on the phone, I'm doodling faces or whatever. And sometimes what I used to do when I was getting art block is I would sit down and just start doodling that out. And then all of a sudden that you get something that goes, oh, that's kind of neat. And then you draw something else and based on that. And then something else grows from that. And you just continue to push that. So yeah, as far as art block goes, you just gotta push through it. There we go. There we go. There we go. I'm gonna get his eye. A little brown with his eye. I'll probably end up getting rid of the dark drawing that I did there. And just go with the color.
How much does the TV paint cost again?
I can't remember offhand. Nick will probably be able to pull up the website, and you can get the prices from the website. Nick will create a link for you guys. Um, Actually, let's give his tie some little spots. I can't remember.
Do you need a degree to get into the industry, or can you just develop a very good portfolio?
Portfolio is the most important thing to have in the industry. Um, a degree helps only because of the process of learning. People, a lot of times people that don't have a degree have not gone through the process of learning. You know, it's rare to find somebody that's really great at what they do in animation or art that didn't go to school. And I know people that didn't go to school, so I'm not saying it's impossible, but it takes a lot of work because there's self-taught artists tend to be narrow in their scope, and only because they just haven't been exposed to a lot of different styles. And so, but if school is cost prohibitive, if it's something that is the fee, the cost of tuition is preventing you, then yeah, there are ways of getting training without having to go to college, especially nowadays because the internet. I mean, I've got I've got animation courses and character design courses on my website, and that are meant to be supplemental to people that are trying to further their education. So there's ways of getting educated out there, but it's a long-winded way of saying no. The most important thing that in your portfolio is the work and not whether or not you got a degree. So I'm going to come up in here. All I'm doing right now is laying down local color. And for those of you that know me, local color is the color of an object when it's not in shadow or in the light. It's just the color of the object. And so I'm just laying down some of that local color and having some fun with it.
How does a younger artist prepare for his or her first long-term non-disclosure project?
How do you prepare for it?
Yeah.
Um, well,
You talk about like a
if you've gotten the job, then you're already prepared. So I'm not quite sure how to answer that question. You just just hunker down and know that you're in for the long haul, and don't make the mistake of talking about it when you've signed a non-disclosure. That's the biggest question. That's the biggest mistake anybody can make, is talking about something when they've made an agreement with the company that they won't be talking about it.
Yeah.
So don't make that mistake.
Yeah.
You'll lose your job.
Most basic thing to say when you're hired: keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Simplest
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, you can talk about, a lot of times you can would say you're working on a project, but normally you can't show what that project looks like or talk about the story. And and we had people at Disney that would spill the beans every once in a while, and they would get reprimanded pretty good.
And the 3D depth company that I was part of, we couldn't say anything until it was released. I mean, some of us would tell people, but it was usually like their closest relatives and things like that. Um, but Disney, when we had projects for Disney, like Marvel projects or especially Star Wars, oh man, like if they found like one tiny little thing, or if one of the security guys that they brought there overheard somebody, that guy was like instantly kicked out.
Yeah.
Like they did not, they did, yeah, like
So the answer to the question for as far as preparing for a non-disclosure project, I think that's what you're asking is, yeah, just make sure you're getting ready for the long haul and don't talk about it. There we go. All right, so I've just created a new layer on top. I'm going to go ahead and start adding some shadows. And this is where I start getting some form and having some fun with it. And I'm just keeping everything kind of basic right now. Oh, I set it to multiply as well, so there we go.
making so many layers in digital painting. Is it helpful, or should I paint my painting in one or two layers? Like minimize
I,
the layers.
you create the number of layers you need. I tend to have probably a medium number of layers because I like to keep my layers separate so I can work, so I have more control. So I usually have a rough drawing layer, a refined drawing layer, then I'll create a local color layer like we're doing here, then I'll create a shadow layer, then I'll do a light layer, and then I'll do a deeper shadow layer, a brighter highlight layer. So you can see I'll do reflected light layers. And by keeping all that separate, I have more control. Um, but some people like to paint like it's a traditional painting and just do everything on one layer. So and that's perfectly fine. Just realize that you're giving up control and the ability to, you can still change things, obviously, but you won't be able to have the control as if you would if you were, as if everything was separated. There we go. I'm just creating shadows, thinking about where that light might fall. There we go. And this is the first stage where it starts to get some volume to it. And after a while, I just forget that I'm even working on a cloud creature, and it just becomes a little character painting. It's a weird pose, and it's not something I would normally do because it's dictated by, obviously, the shape of the cloud. But it still takes on a life of its own. This tie that I'm working on is a good example of why I work, why I do the shadows on a multiply layer, because you can see with this with the polka dots and everything, it just works really well creating the shadow over the dark green and the light polka dots. I see this as all kind of being under.
Have you ever hurt your hand from drawing too much?
I've never hurt my hand from drawing too much. I get a sore shoulder sometimes because I tend to lean on my right arm. But no, my hand doesn't really get tired or I don't hurt it. My eyes get tired. My eyes have gotten old and I've got to wear glasses now. But no, I love to draw, so it doesn't matter. I mean, I broke my wrist. I don't know if you can see her now, but I've got a right there. Yeah, right there. I've got a scar, or I've got a plate in there on my left hand, and it was a few years ago when I was snowboarding in Colorado, and I went to make a jump and hit a block of ice and broke my wrist. But I had a cast on, and that night I was drawing. I was drawing like this. I wasn't doing this, but I was doing that. So you can, as long as you take care of yourself, you can do a lot of drawing, and you're not going to hurt anything. Take enough breaks. There we go. I just keep everything really simple for this kind of stuff. You can see I'm going kind of quickly, and this one might be a little bit of a reach, but quiet over there, Dustin. Did they stop asking questions?
No, just read something that was pretty funny, just giggling about a little bit. Because I mentioned earlier about working on the 3D for Star Wars and all that, and somebody wrote, if you're working on Star Wars, then they had the Force to sense the blabbermouths, and Marvel had Professor X.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, very true. But what are some of your big goals as an artist at this point in your career?
At this point in my career, my big goals are to build this education site that we have, that I've been working on. I don't have a huge desire to go out and direct movies anymore. I've done it, and I loved it, and I had a great time doing it. But to be honest with you, and you hear a lot of older people say the same thing I'm going to say, but I just want a nice, quiet, happy life. And what makes me happy now is doing exactly what I'm doing now. I'm creatively happier than I've ever been, and so if I'm able to continue this business that I've got, with education and talking to you guys, and continue to make a living at it, then that to me that's exactly what I want to do. I love doing it. I think I was kind of made for teaching and education. I love teaching. And what's great about what I'm doing now is I'm drawing and painting and animating or whatever, anything I want at any time I want, and turning it into education, which gives me much more creative freedom than I've ever had before. So that in itself is wonderful. So now you can see I've got kind of a shadow. It's kind of a funky pose, but if I turn all this off, you can see there's where we started. And it's funny, if I put the shadow layer in there, you can start to see that it starts to come together, and then there's our guy there. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of fun. I'm going to put all of that in a folder. There we go.
Do you still have any connections with Disney?
I have connections with Disney, just through my friends. So I'm not doing any work for Disney or anything like that. Whoops. But I have a lot of friends that still work at Disney, and so we keep in touch, and I get to see what projects they're working on and that sort of thing. So that's been fun. I'm going to do this. Just while I'm in here, I'm going to add a little reflection in this eye.
When it comes to designs like this rabbit, would adding photos to texturize the rabbit ruin the overall feel of the piece, or is it better to do it by hand through illustration?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It comes down to what you want. I've taken them to where I've textured them like that, and it doesn't ruin it. It's all it's what you want the end product to be. It's kind of fun to have something that's super hyper detailed like that, um, to come back and see it as a cloud and see the influence. That's kind of neat. So it's really it depends on what you want to get out of it. So that's my answer. Sorry. And let's get a little bit over here. Add a little bit of light there. There we go. Just getting a little glisten off the bottom of the eye to get the feel like it's a little wet. And then we're going to get one nice hot highlight.
If you had to choose, which one would you choose? The Corel Painter or TV Paint?
Corel Painter or TV Paint?
Yeah.
Those are two different softwares for me. So Painter is for painting, TV Paint is for animation. Yes, you can do illustration with it, but I mean, Corel Painter is made for painter, for different textures and things like that. You can kind of get that. You can still get that kind of stuff out of TV Paint. But for me, TV Paint is for animation and Corel Painter is for painting. So it's a little bit apples and oranges for me.
Every time I paint shadows, you can see each and every stroke. How do you blend them all out?
It depends on if you're working in photo. Is it because you're working in Photoshop? I'm assuming it's because you're working in Photoshop. That's a digital question. It depends on the brush. So I change the size of my brush constantly. And right now I'm adding a highlight or a light layer. Let me see something here. There we go. I want to get rid of that. There we go. So you can see like I can get nice smooth transitions by taking the tapered icon off and pushing the size of the brush up. I can get some lighter, smoother values.
Do you know how to create
There we go.
robot mech designs?
No, I do not. That's not something I've really done in the past.
I mean, you have done a few back then, but
yeah, but they're it's not my specialty, so it's not something I choose to do. But I've done a couple in the past. And I wouldn't say that I'm great at it.
Well, you did have some really interesting designs back then.
Well, thank you, Dustin. I appreciate that. So I'm just going in and just hitting little places that I think would be highlights.
Any thoughts on hue variations?
Yes. And I'll vary up the hue a little bit in here. A lot of that I'll do in when it's in local color stage. And right now I'm still just getting lighter and darker values, and then I'm going to go in more directly and play with the hue on some of these, and reflected light, color of light, bounced light, all that kind of stuff. There we go.
Do you recommend watching how to draw videos for new artists or animators?
Yeah, I've got a ton of them. I recommend mine. No, I mean, yeah, if you're new at it and you're trying to learn, then of course, there's a lot of information out there to be had by other people that are willing to share it. And yeah, so that's the way you learn. If I'm understanding the question right, of course. Okay, so now that I've got a rough set of light and shadow patterns here. It's not the greatest little bunny, but we can go in and add some fur textures here in just a sec. But so now I'm going to create a layer on top, And I'm going to go a little darker, create a few deeper shadows.
I do have one question here, but it might be a little um, personal, so you can tell me skip if you want. But question is, did Disney uh, fire you, or did you quit Disney?
I quit Disney, and it's not too personal. I'll explain what happened. Um, I when I after the studio shut down here in Florida in 2004, everybody was laid off except a handful of us, and we transferred out to California. And I was lucky enough to keep my job, and I went out and started developing some more films with my directing partner and producing partner, Chuck Williams and Bob Walker. And so we were my wife Karen and my kids Dustin and Austin, and we all moved to California together, and everything was going great. But then a little ways into it, about a year after we got there, my wife Karen, we've been married for 20 years. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, and and she fought it and fought it and fought it, but 2 years later she passed away with us at home, and so it was really devastating. I was heartbroken, and and I tried to get back to work, and I was I think I was at work for a good year and a half trying to get things going again. But I after my wife died, I just didn't have the vision anymore, and I just didn't want to be there, and I was having a hard time with the project. I was having a hard time with the just everything. And eventually, John Lasseter and Ed Catmull, I was working on a project called The King of the Elves, and eventually they came in and they took me off the project, and they said they wanted me to stay at Disney, but you know the difficulties of directing the film were too much, and that's when I was taken off the project. That's when I realized, okay, I've got to make a change in my life. You know, there to me in those 20 years, there was two things that really identified me: my wife and my family together. You know, they were my identity, and then my job at Disney, um, and what I was doing at Disney. They were really kind of my identity. Obviously, job being second, but it was still a big part of me because it was art, and so after I'd lost my wife, and then I was taken off the project, that's when I realized my whole identity was kind of falling apart, and I wanted to. And I was missing my kids too, and I wanted to reconnect with my kids, and I just knew I needed a change. So that's why I quit. And so in that moment, when they said, "Hey, we're taking you off the project," um, they asked me. You know, they said, "We'd still like you to stay," and that's when I just instantly I said, "No, I think I'm done. I think I quit. I think I need a change." And I just celebrated my 21st anniversary with the company, so I was there a long time, and I really knew nothing else of the industry, and so they were a little bit shocked, but they understood, and Ed Catmull and John Lasseter were fantastic and very understanding, and it was great. I'll never say anything bad about Disney because I loved working there, and I loved the people there, and I was always treated so well. Um, so anyway, so that's how that happened, and so I ended up leaving, and I I decided to move back to Florida. I didn't wanted to get out of Los Angeles, and so I came back to Florida and started with another company, and that company went bankrupt, and then that's when I went, man, what am I going to do? And so I started this business, and so I've been doing this ever since. And once this really took off, that's when I realized, you know what, I don't think I want to go back to the big studios. I really love what I'm doing, and and so that's your long-winded answer to yeah, to, you know, it's a little bit of a tough question, but I liked it. That was a good question, and I like that you had the cojones to ask. A lot of people wonder about that, and it was just, yeah, it was just a really tough time in my life that I really hope nobody ever has to go through, because losing someone that you love that deeply is really hard. But if you have and you're struggling with it, let me just say really quick, um, I survived something that I thought I couldn't survive, and there was a couple of times where, to be honest with you, I didn't want to survive it, and I contemplated a few different things. And if you're in that position, just know that the sun will come up. The sun comes up, and the sun comes up, and the sun comes up, and things get a little better and a little easier. This is part of a lecture that I give. I go around and I talk about this. It's called persistence of vision that I do. And persistence of vision is a term that we give to the actual, when you see motion in film or animation, it's the repetition of of images that are shown at a fast rate on your eye. The term for that is persistence of vision when you start to see motion. But I also see, from my point of view as an artist in that industry, I see it as a metaphor for life as well. And as long as you persist and you keep a vision of wanting to create, if you keep a vision of wanting to get to the next day, if you're that low, for me it was just trying to get to the next day. If you persist in that vision, then you may not know where you're going to end up, but you'll end up somewhere, I promise. After my wife Karen passed away, I didn't know I'd be doing this, talking to you right now, but I did, and she did, and here we are, and life is good. Yes.
Have you worked with somebody by the name of Gendy Tartakovsky?
No. That name, unless you're saying it weird, I don't recognize that name. Who are they?
Um, I don't know. The person that asked is Anna Allen. But yeah, the name she's asking is Gendy Tartakovsky. I think
No, that name doesn't
sounds
sound
Russian.
familiar to me. I'm sorry. So you can see I've created another multiply layer, and I'm creating shadows, deeper shadows. I'm creating the deeper shadows within the shadows. So you can see I'm having some fun getting some nice textures here.
How do you make clean sketches? Also, how do you get rid of leftover the pencil marks after you've already erased? Like,
Uh, oh well, if we're talking digitally, I break them up into layers. So like right now, I've got a rough drawing layer. Actually, I didn't even do the rough drawing layer on this one. Um, but I'll just keep it separate, and then I tend to draw kind of clean over time. Over time you just get a little bit more confident in your line, and that's become, from a stylistic standpoint, that's become kind of a style of mine. I don't do a lot of searching lines, so that helps keep my sketches somewhat clean. I hope that answers. There we go. There. And the other thing I'll do is like this. There's my sketch lines. I'll go in and lighten them up. Now I can go in and really have some fun with adding the darks, pushing the darks, and I'm going to create another layer on top.
what's your favorite thing to draw?
I love anything animals. My favorite thing to draw is anything that is animal related. I love.
Future art teacher.
Whoops, that's not what I want. I want that to be normal. I'm going to create a new layer. There we go. I just love drawing animals, and anyone that knows me will tell you that I'm a fiend. I'm a nut for it.
Have you ever used the Cintiq 13 HD or
I have,
anything of that
yes.
type?
Um, yes, I have. We used to have one uh, in our story room. when I was working at Digital Domain, we used it for storyboarding in the room, doing notes and that and whatnot. And I loved it. Worked great.
The the companion that I have, that's is that 13 as well?
Yes,
Or?
that's 13. Yep. And yeah, Dustin has a companion that he's working on. That's 13 inches.
Yeah, I've been using that ever since I got it. I mainly use it to make new graphic designs for my Twitch streaming overlay.
Yeah, I'm just having some fun with this eye. I'm not quite sure where it's going, but giving him a little darkness around his eye just to make him feel a little more exotic. Let's see, where is the I didn't label my layers. I have a bad habit of doing that. Make sure you label your layers.
Oh, Nick said the companion is not 13 inches.
It's not?
Oh.
Well, there you go. I thought it was.
You go. Is it smaller than 13?
There we go. Any more questions, Dustin? Keep them coming.
I'm doing my best. Do you have pets?
You know what? I don't have pets right now. I love pets. I used to have had an English bulldog for years. She was my caretaker. She really took care of me. Her name was Violet, and Karen and I got her as a puppy. And after Karen passed away, Violet would make sure that I went to bed at the right time every night, taking care of me. She was awesome. And then after Violet passed away, it hurt too much, and I'm traveling so much. I just haven't gotten the guts to get another pet yet because I fall in love with them so much. It's hard to. I want to make sure that I'm taking care of them the right way and giving them the time that they need. So, if I slow down on my traveling, then I'm definitely gonna. I'm thinking about getting another companion at home for sure.
And Nick said the screen size is actually 15, not 13.
Gotcha. Well, it's even better then.
It is.
So I'm just adding some darks in here, having some fun with that. I'm kind of getting into this one now. There we go.
But if you like Cintiqs and you like drawing on the go, definitely recommend a Cintiq companion.
Yeah, they're great.
It's just you yourself can handle it because of the Windows base.
Yeah, I've always been Mac, and I'm not a Windows guy, and so I struggled with it a bit. But it's a really great tool.
You
There we
worked
go.
on the Bear and Rabbit commercial. Was that the last big animation production you worked in?
Yes, I've worked on a few other projects since then, but that's the best one that got made, I think. And I've worked on other projects as well. I mean, Warner Brothers is actually making a Jungle Book movie, and I helped on that, doing some designs on that, and a few projects here and there. But that was my favorite because that was a cool project. There we go. I'm going to come in here with some lighter color now. I'm going to create a new layer. I want to go right into the white. Red highlights right on top.
Do you know a past Disney animator named Hendel Butoy?
Yes. Hendel Butoy was one of the directors of The Rescuers Down Under, and he was my director. He also Hendel Butoy was the supervising animator of Cheech Marin's character in Oliver and Company. I can't remember what his name was. The dog, the little Chihuahua. What was his name? Somebody out there knows. Tito. Was it Tito?
Oh, an Oliver and Company?
Yeah. I think it was Tito.
I think you're right.
I'm going to create just a little.
Yeah, now it's going to drive me nuts.
Ah, good. I'm going to go cool with these reflected lights. See where that goes. Oh, that's too light. Go a little darker. Yes, Hendel Butoy is a great guy. I don't know where he is nowadays.
And so I said that they can't hear me reading the questions. Let them know that we're still figuring out the sound issues.
Well, get up closer, and I'll try to repeat the questions as well. So that question about Hendel Butoy, someone asked if I'd worked with him in the past, and the answer was yes.
Are there any programs for traditional animation, free or not free?
Free or not free?
Like, are there any programs for traditional animation?
Okay.
Like, I think they're talking like TV Paint or any kind of program for animation.
Yeah, there's tons of them out there. There's TV Paint. There's Toon Boom Harmony. Those are all paid. You pay for those. But as far as free software, there's one out there called Pencil, and it's okay. I actually tried it, before I found the other software, and I was just experimenting with animating 2D digitally.
Do you have a mentor?
Yeah, my mentor when I was learning animation was Glenn Keane. Glenn Keane was a great animator at Disney, and he taught me animation in 1988 and got me hooked on it, and we worked together again on Beauty and the Beast. He was the supervising animator of the Beast, and then we worked together again on Pocahontas. He was the supervising animator of Pocahontas, and then we've kept in touch over the years, and he's a great guy. He's no longer at Disney. He just finished up a really cool project with Kobe Bryant. But Glenn Keane was my mentor. There we go.
Any animal drawing book recommendations?
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Damn.
Well, that snuck up on me.
Any animal drawing book recommendations?
Yes. Terrell Whitlatch, who does creature designs, is fantastic. I really recommend looking at Terrell's stuff. TerrylWhitlatch. I don't think I missed anything there. I'm not sure if I'm liking this blue reflection. I'm going to dump it. I'm just going to go with the highlights. Going to get rid of that. Sorry guys, that was a lot of wasted time, but that's part of the process. Just going to go nice and bright and just hit some of the lighter areas.
Do you ever draw people portraits, or have you ever studied it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've drawn a lot of people. I've actually created a course on human anatomy, not portraits specifically. I actually plan on doing a course on portraits. But yeah, I've done quite a few. I love drawing portraits actually.
What tablet are you currently using? It's a Cintiq, but what model are you using?
This is a Cintiq 27 QHD. It's a 27-inch screen. It's the biggest one that they make.
What does the Q stand for? Is it like quality, I guess?
I don't know. If Joe Sliger's watching, maybe he can type something in what the Q stands for. There we go.
My
I'm just going in and hitting little highlights here and there. Sorry, go ahead, Dustin.
uh, if someone's asking if I do any art, kind of sort of like right now I just make paintbrushes, but that's about it for now. But I used to do some drawing. Um, I always have difficulties with lighting. Do you have any tips?
You know what? The best tip I can give people for lighting is getting out there and observing. You know, that's how I learned my lighting, is just observing the world around me, and looking at different lighting situations and trying to emulate them. Looking at bounced light, looking at whatever, and looking at other artists and how they handle lighting. That's a big one. And here we go.
If I want to do stylized animals, should I still study drawing really realistic animals as well?
Yes, absolutely. You can't you can't abstract the form until you know the form in reality. And understanding that form inside and out will dictate what you do with it from an abstract point of view. When I say abstract, I mean stylizing. And and a lot of people, they just don't want to do the homework. They think, well, I'm just going to make it as stylized. It's just going to be super stylized anyway. So why do I need to know all the anatomy? Because once you know it, then you're going to have that much more information to go in there and really create something that you would never have thought of had you not studied the anatomy ahead of time. Think of it like this: you can't write poetry without knowing the language first, right? You can't you can't write a song without knowing the scales. And that's kind of what it's like as far as if you want to do animal character designs, you should know those, the real animal first. Know it inside and out. You can look at any of the animal films that we did, even some of the over the more stylized ones, and we were bringing animals in at Disney and studying them.
What brush are you currently using?
This is a brush that I created. It's my sketching brush. It's my go-to brush that I use all the time. It's just a great sketch brush. It's available on my website. If you sign up for my newsletter, you get it for free. So there you go. Hint, hint. If you want this brush, go sign up for my newsletter. But I've also got it as part of my one of my brush sets, my original custom brush set. What time are we looking at? Oh,
And someone said that yeah, the companion is 13 inches, but the new one is 16 inches.
okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was wrong.
Yeah, the one that I currently have, it's the older model. That is 13 inches, but
Right.
the newer one, um, that I don't think I've seen any pictures of the new one yet, but supposedly it's wider and thinner, but that one's 16 inches.
Gotcha.
So what's the best way to improve at line art?
Do it a lot. And I'm not being a smartass. Just do it a lot. The best way to improve at anything is to do it a lot. There's no secrets, and so for doing line art, just sit down and practice. If you're trying to do a clean line, then practice doing that. The only way you get better at anything is through repetition. And so yeah, you've got to get in there and just put the hours in and the time. I'm noodling the heck out of this, but it's been kind of fun. There we go. I'll move on here in a second. Trying to keep my fur direction consistent here. It's not the best drawing in the world, but it's been fun.
Someone did confirm from earlier that Tito is the Chihuahua from Oliver and Company.
Oh, there you go.
It is confirmed.
My brain is still working. Oliver and Company was the first project. Well, it was the project that was being made when I was training as an animator. A long time ago. There we go. There, getting some fun textures going on here.
What was your favorite movie to work on?
I don't have a favorite. I get that question all the time, and I really honestly do like all the different projects I worked on for different reasons. And I know it sounds like a cop-out answer, but it really is true for me. I loved working on Beauty and the Beast because I was animating the Beast, and it was a big break for me. I loved working on Aladdin because that's when I started animating Raja, and that was my first big break for having my own character. And then Lion King was, it's animating lions. Come on, that's awesome. So everything had its own appeal. Brother Bear was my biggest challenge, and that gave me the biggest satisfaction of actually surviving, and because I was co-director on that, and it was extremely difficult, and a lot of people didn't think I could do it, and so I was able to come through and at least get it done, and so that was something else. And yeah, I loved all the different projects. I've loved every project that I work on at the time. If it's a decent project, is my favorite project. It really is. And I put my heart into it. I think I'm just going to blast through the rest of this real quick.
Did you meet one of the original 9 Old Men?
I've met several of the original 9 Old Men. I met Frank Thomas, Ollie Johnson, Ward Kimball. I've met a lot of them. Several of them.
Do you have any advice for a 14-year-old interested in traditional animation?
Yes. Don't draw manga. And I'm going to get a lot of backlash on this. But don't draw manga. Get out there and try different styles. You can draw it if you want, but don't let that be the only thing you draw.
Yeah, don't stick with one thing.
Yeah.
Learn with others. Learn other things.
There's a lot of animation to be explored out there. Look at different styles. Draw animals, draw people, and draw from life. Go out and learn how to draw from life. That's a big piece of advice I can give you as a 14-year-old. That's the biggest thing that helped me. Is I never drew cartoon characters growing up. I always went out in the woods and drew animals and that sort of thing, and that really helped me coming into the industry as I got older because I had that background. And because I had the background of drawing real animals, I was able to create characters for Disney with having already had a knowledge of real animals to start with.
How do you study color? I always paint in black and white.
Colors observation. So get out and observe, and you got to really see the color around you and know and understand the physics of color. That's another thing. How color bounced light and how color mixes and um, cools and cools and warms and darks and lights and hue and how hue affects other hue around and that it touches, and green affects red and red affects blue, and there's a lot of different things that go with it, but it all comes through observation. So get out there and observe it. That's my best piece of advice.
Did you work with Eric Goldberg?
Oh yes, yeah, we worked on Aladdin together, and we've lectured together. And the question was, have I worked with Eric Goldberg or do I know him? And yes, I do. We know each other well. He's amazing. Eric Goldberg is.
Have you ever wrestled a bear, and what is your favorite species of bear to wrestle?
Yeah, I love wrestling bears. I think I took down a wild polar bear once. Took him right down. He had nothing on me. No, I've never wrestled a bear. What kind of question is that, you nutball? My favorite species of bear to wrestle are stuffed teddy bears.
The extra large ones.
Yeah, the extra large ones.
I think you would definitely play with the real grizzly bear in a split second. Like,
Yeah, I want.
What's that trainer that
Bart the bear.
what was his name?
Bart the bear.
Bart the bear.
You talking about? What are you talking about?
So there's a trainer that has a trained grizzly and polar bear.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I bet you would totally, like, if you had the chance.
Yeah, you know what? I don't even know if I would do that. Yeah, I'm not sure because I'm not a big believer in treating animals like people. I give them their respect, so I just not sure I could do that. I love animals, don't get me wrong, but animals aren't people.
But what if the bear wanted to play with you?
Well, then he can play with somebody else.
Wow. I was actually expecting you to say something else.
Oh no, I like living. I like living.
Well, I know you like living, but what if the bear just wants to play?
You just never know. There we go. I'm working this tie a little too much. There we go.
I'm thinking of purchasing a Cintiq tablet over the summer. What setup would you recommend?
It depends on what your budget is, and what you're looking to use it for. So, the question is, what kind of Cintiq and setup should somebody get? And it really depends on what you're looking for. I work every day, and digital art is a big part of my life, and so I want the best, and I go right to the top. And so I use the Cintiq 27 QHD, and it's a little bit of a forking out money. It's not, they're not cheap, but I'm a big believer in having the right equipment, and I'll use this equipment. I've had my last Cintiq, I used it for 8 years, so that was money well spent. So I'm a big believer in that. So depending on what you want, just don't make sure you don't scrimp. Don't compromise. If you have the ability to not compromise, then don't. Because like I said, if you're doing this every day, if this is your passion, like it is for me, then you got to get in there and you've got to get the best material, the best equipment that that you can swing. It's important. It's funny to me. I'll talk to so many people that will think nothing about going out and buying, the next greatest phone or some big video game, and they'll have tons of video games that they've been buying. But when it comes time to buy the right equipment for their art, they won't do it because it's too expensive. Um, it really depends on what you want more.
How can you make sure that the colors you choose are in harmony?
If they look right, they are right. That's it. That's the only, because there is a rule to be broken. There's for every rule that there's one to be broken. And so the bottom line is, if what you're creating looks right, then it is right. And I'm just putting a little holding line on all this stuff because I think the color got away from me a little bit. So I'm doing a little cheat. Just adding a few little details in here.
Since your community is growing so much now, would you consider giving out weekly homework assignments for us to study and do?
That's something we've actually talked about. And we might do that. I'm just not sure how to critique them. But that's something that we're considering, and stay tuned because I like the idea a lot, actually.
Uh-oh. When should we expect the moose?
I was actually, you know what? The moose. I was actually thinking about, what did I just do? I was thinking about doing one today, but then I decided to do the cloud creature instead. So, tell you what, I'll do one next week. Oh, I see what I did. I just flopped the layers. I'll do a moose next week. The moose. I promise. I'll be prepped. I will do the best moose you've ever seen.
So what is it that you're doing right now? Or are you just
I'm just adding. I'm just refining the edges, and I'm noodling is what I'm doing. I should probably finish this up. So coming in here, let me just come in here real quick, and I'm just adding an edge because I'm just giving it a little bit of a cheat. Let me finish up these ears, and then we'll bring it into Premiere and have some fun with it.
How do you create the shape of your custom brushes? You're going to be doing a video on that in the future, right?
Yeah, I can't answer that. I can't just explain how you create brushes in Photoshop. There's a process to it. But I do. I think I did do a video on how to create the brushes. So if you go onto on the YouTube channel here, I think there is a video in there that I did showing people how to do that. But I'm also, when I do the digital painting course, I'm going to have a whole section on how to create your own custom brushes and how to create them to serve a specific purpose, like creating fur brushes or creating, foliage brushes or whatever. Man, another sneeze. I don't sneeze lightly.
So are you going to keep your background darkened, or are you going to lighten the
No,
back up once
like
once
that?
it's all done?
There's the background right there. The background will stay just like that.
Alright. That hasn't shown up on my end yet.
That's all right. It's not darkened, it's lightened. It was lightened. I'm just going through this quickly. So, I mean, we could sit here, I could paint on this for hours and hours. But anyway, so there's this. Now, what's fun about this is we can go, okay, I'm going to save as. I'm going to save it as a JPEG, and we'll save it to my desktop, and let's just save it as cloud hair, and we'll save that, and then we will take all those guys, put them in a folder, turn them off, and then we'll go File, Save As, JPEG, Cloud Hair 2. Okay. Save that. I can turn this off and on. You can kind of see the influence. You can see where it comes from, which is kind of fun. That's what's fun for the viewer, you know. But then let's go into I don't want that. I don't want After Effects. I want Premiere. And let me hit this. And I'm going to take these and get rid of them. This is from when I was making, for those of you that didn't see it, this is the one that I created yesterday. If you watch it play, I just do a long cross dissolve. And if you look up in the screen up here, let me go ahead and click on this. There we go. So this is the guy I created yesterday. This was a little bit more successful. But you can see then it just fades right back into the cloud again. And it's funny because once you see it, once you see what the face is, then you can't unsee it when it goes away. It's kind of fun that way. And so we're going to do that with the rabbit. The hair. So I'm going to import cloud hair. Oh, I think the other one's in the down. Yeah, that one's there. We'll import that.
Do cleanup
And then
artists still
do one
exist
more.
in the animation world?
I'm sorry, say it again.
I'm sorry. Do cleanup artists still exist in the animation world?
Oh, sure. There's still cleanup artists out there. Now they're few and far between, but of course, they're still out there. They let me get this right here. I'm going to drop that in. There we go. So there's how it looks there. And I'm going to stretch this out. There are still cleanup artists out there. Now, as far as whether or not, I'm going to make that 12 seconds. Let's make it somewhere in here. I'm not sure how feasible it is to be a cleanup artist anymore. That's the I can't answer that. But there we go. And let's make that. I can't remember how long I did the other ones. Let's make it 20 seconds. So now when I take and grab my cross dissolve, and let's just drop that in, and we will stretch that out somewhere in here. Let's shorten that cross dissolve a little bit. You'll see when it plays, it's going to go from the cloud to a bunny. Oh my gosh, look at that. That's how I do the cross dissolve. So it's pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up. I'm going to shorten that by a little bit anyway. Got any more questions, Kimosabi?
Would you have moved on to 3D animation if you never left Disney?
Well, I was directing an 3D animated film, so yeah, I definitely would have moved on to 3D animation. The problem was I was stuck in development for a while, but other than that, no, I would have definitely continued. There we go. That's I was working on a 3D film, so yeah. So here we go. I'm going to do this.
When you're putting base colors, do you transfer in brush settings? Because when I use transfer in that stage, my colors are mixing together, and in your case, they are equal.
Say that one more time. Ask that question again.
When you are putting on base colors, do you use transfer in the brush settings?
No, I do not. I do not use transfer. There we go. Tighten that up. Oh, I'm going to do this. There we go.
Hypothetical question. If you have to give up one Disney movie you worked on for a movie that you wanted to work on, which ones would you swap?
I would swap. Um, I would swap. I would swap Pocahontas for Lilo and Stitch. I loved Lilo and Stitch. I didn't get to work on it.
Good choice.
Yeah. Oh, I got these wrong. I'm sitting here yapping, talking so much. I'm not paying attention.
What are you doing?
I'm not doing anything. There we go. There we go. Now, let's tighten that cross dissolve up.
Do you think it's good to learn both 3D and 2D?
Sure. I mean, knowledge is, it's always good to know more. So, yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, and one of the things I love about, a lot of really good um, 3D animators were 2D animators to begin with. Now, that's not to say that you have to be a 2D animator, but a lot of those guys were able to bring that thinking um, over into the 3D world. There we go. Let's see. There we go. Let's see how this works. So there's our cloud, and it's going to start transferring, and it transfers right into the bunny. It's not quite as finished as we'd like it to be, but it's not too bad. And then we'll see it transfer back. We'll tighten that up. It's sitting there too long. Oh, I think I cross dissolved it from the same image. There we go. This image is the same. I need to get rid of that and pull this one over. That all you got?
How much of an animated film these days is drafted on paper? And at what point they switch to digital?
I don't know of any that are done on paper anymore. To be honest with you, even some of the stuff in Europe, paper is that's an expensive overhead cost now, and and if you don't have to use it and you don't have to kill trees in the process, and I don't think you should. I don't know of anybody that's using it. So um, yeah, I don't think anyone is. That's on any kind of viable level. There we go. So there's the bunny. So that's where I'm at there. Let me tighten that one up too. I'm going to take a little chunk out of there.
Is there any way we can show you our sketches and have them critiqued? It no may be hard, but it helps you improve. It helps the person you're critiquing improve.
No, I understand that. It's just we've got a base of about 1 million people that we have across the world, and so it's a little hard for us to do that right now. But we do want to start doing it in some way, and so um, be patient because we will find a way that we can do some critiques down the road. right now our focus is to try to hit more of a blanket and try to affect and help as many people as possible. And when we break things down to working one-on-one, that becomes a bit more difficult for us to do. If there's ways of working one-on-one while thousands of other people watch, and if those people are okay with that, then there's way, you know, there might be some ways in doing that. But we're currently trying to figure that out, so be patient and we'll see how that goes.
Okay. One of the viewers and Nick um, just gave me another hypothetical question. And Andreas Deja
Mm-hmm.
versus Eric Goldberg in a boxing match, who would win?
I'm not answering that. Nope, not answering it.
You don't want to lose your friendship, do you?
Yeah, I'm friends with both of them. But anyway, that was fun, and I really appreciate you guys hanging out. We'll do something again next week. Remember, check out my website, creatureartteacher.com. Like I said, there's a lot of drawing tutorials there, animation, character design, anatomy, Photoshop brushes, and the library is growing. I just finished up a new course last week on how to draw bears, and it's been super popular, so check it out. It's over 20 hours of content on there. Um, and also, remember, I'm here every Thursday, but every Tuesday, I'm over on Facebook going live, and same time, 1 o'clock Eastern time, 1 p.m. It's gonna start getting a little bit more sparse here and there. So look for us to announce when we're going to be working, because we've still got a lot of travel coming up. I'm going to be in Los Angeles. I'm also going to be in Japan. I'm going to be in the Northeast. So we're kind of bopping all over the place throughout the summer. But when we can, we will be doing the live stream. So anyway, thanks a lot. Let me go ahead and get this back up again. Thanks for coming and watching. And I will see you probably, if something else doesn't come up, I'll see you next week. So thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
And let me get to...
Don't forget to stop the stream.
I got stuck. I was still live before. But anyway, talk to you later, guys. Thanks. Bye.